people don't understand that women, especially, we like playing as attractive characters. If it's a dude or if it's a girl, okay? With girl characters, you know, try to unpack all of this, okay? Think of the power fantasy. A power fantasy for a guy is like being really strong and stuff. Power fantasy for a girl is being very attractive. So yeah. So when we play a game and we're really looking up to the protagonist, we want the female character to be attractive because that's like a power fantasy for us. And like I said, she doesn't have to look pornographic or anything, because there's different ways to make a character look attractive without being raunchy about it, you know? Which I think Lara Croft was. And a lot of people will argue against that, but I just think that's idiotic. People are under the impression that women don't like attractive female characters, but where they're misguided on that is that it's the blue-haired land whales who don't even really play video games anyway. They're the ones who don't like female characters to be attractive. They don't plan on playing the games anyway, but they don't want to be threatened by the characters, and it's just completely idiotic. Now, when you really think about an MMO, for example, and girls who play MMOs, how do they make their characters look? Cute or hot or beautiful? There's some level of attractiveness. Like, we like playing as attractive characters. This is why I don't really play Bethesda games, because I don't want to play as an ugly character. Like I said, guy or girl.
Star Wars Outlaws Backlash proves we need more women protagonists. Kotaku doesn't see gamers as their target audience. Kotaku sees gamers as their targets. They created this fake outrage over Star Wars Outlaws, pretended there was this huge backlash. Because, as I keep saying, the default for SJWs when it comes to geek entertainment is that women enhance everything, that they're important, and that their feelings matter. This is consumer entertainment. People buy the things that they like and that they're interested in. If there are men out there who don't want to play as a female lead in it, there's no critical thinking involved in this when it comes to like Kotaku or The Gamer, where they did an article about this Outlaws fake backlash thing and they're talking about fragile masculinity in gamers. They know, but they don't care. It's like the whole 1984 Newspeak thing. They want to take nuance out of a subject so that they can clearly define people as the enemy. So if somebody says, I don't want to play a Star Wars game with a female lead, it could be simply that Star Wars is their most favoritist franchise, or it used to be before Disney took over. And they like the idea of this open world game, or I don't know if this is even an open world game, but they like the idea of this single player game, Outlaws. And they were looking forward to the Ubisoft game. And come to find out it's going to be a woman. And with the way Disney has pretty much made all of their films and shows feature female lead or leads, you get tired of it. You're like, I don't want to see yet another female lead in the Star Wars property. Disney bought Star Wars because they wanted something for boys in Disney's catalog. And they immediately turned it into a franchise for wine moms and wine aunts. So it's one of those things, like I was trying to point this out. I don't think I did a good job of it in my previous video when I was talking about the kids who were supposed to come in pride flag colors on Pride Day, and these middle school kids showed up instead in American flag colors, and they were chanting USA are my pronouns. So the thing is, my point with that, another point I didn't quite make, was basically, if you do this enough, where you keep shoving this shit down people's throat, even if they don't really have a problem with it, they have a problem with the way that you're pushing it down their throat. So in the case of those kids, it's like you're constantly telling us about pride and telling us about gay shit. It's like, I'm sick of hearing about it. I don't care either way. But now you've made this an issue, like it's really that important when it's not. And it's the same thing with female leads or ugly women in gaming. Like, one or two ugly women, and they're not even the leads, they're just characters, nobody cares. But because it's being done over and over and over again, and it's only being done because it's a political thing, it's an agenda, it's something that Kotaku pushes, and The Gamer pushes, and Polygon pushes constantly. And there's people on the staffs of these developers and these publishing companies who are constantly pushing. Like when Star Wars Fallen Order was being developed and whatever, there was low-level designers in that game pushing to make Cal Kestis actually a strong black woman Jedi. And the director or the producer was like, We already have 2 black women in this goddamn game, and you want a third one? And the movies already have Ray as a lead. Like, can't you motherfuckers accept some diversity? That's what you always talk about, right? That's what you should have said. Get the fuck out of my office. But it wasn't enough that they had 2 black women as important characters in the game. They wanted all the characters in the game to be women and black. Like, if the baseline mentality of Kotaku and the gamer is that most gamers are misogynists and racists, what do they think is going to happen if developers listen to them and make even more women protagonists? Do you think that these racists and misogynists are just going to play these games, spend their money in these games, and even though they grumble and complain, they're going to play it anyway? They're just going to change their mind? Or do they think that they're going to drive these people off? And if they do, who's going to pick up the slack? Is it going to be people on Twitter with like trans flags in their bios and pronouns in their bios? Is it enough of them to make up for the loss of all the bigots that you've run off? You know, the assumed bigots that you've run off? And are these people even going to spend the money on this stuff? Do these people even care about this stuff? No, they don't. You know, again, Kotaku doesn't see gamers as the audience. They see people who hate gamers as their audience. And then they use this clickbait, rage bait stuff just to get engagement. And it's not a winning strategy. Like, Kotaku's not going to be here in the next couple of years. It just won't be. The gamer won't be either. And the gamer is really like pushing it. I think the gamer really wants to go like now. They want to be driven out of the industry now. They want to shut down now. I guess they're tired of gaming. So mainly this video was supposed to be about, for me, just, I've talked about this now since, at least since the Doves ad, where I just think it's important to push back against this narrative that if a man playing a video game likes an attractive woman in a video game, that means he's misogynist. So a male gamer who likes attractive women is a misogynist. A male gamer who doesn't like ugly women in gaming is a misogynist. Like, a man having any thoughts or opinions about a woman is ultimately misogyny. If you disagree with SJWs and the political agenda and the way in which this stuff is being pushed, you're a misogynist. Again, somebody criticizing Star Wars Outlaws and criticizing the fact that it's a female lead, it could be more than just, I don't want to play as a female lead. It could simply be, I am tired of female leads in Star Wars. This was supposed to be for men, it's supposed to be for boys. You've turned it into, you know, something that, like, most women are not even going to play the fucking game, but you're trying to force men to have empathy for women through a video game. Like, video games are not a support group for women and their self-esteem. It's not, you know, social services. It's entertainment. The comic book industry has been shrunken down to the size of a thimble. And you see these hashtags of the same people who pushed for pushing straight white men out of comic books, you know, destroying superhero comics. Those same people are now suffering because there's not any money in comic books. You know, a rising tide lifts all ships or whatever. And they've destroyed the tide. You know, they've destroyed the superhero genre. And so now there's no money to go around for any more experimental projects or smaller projects that, you know, it's not going to make a lot of money, but they're doing well so that they can hire people who can do stuff that, you know, appeals to a smaller niche audience. But that's pretty much wiped out. You know, the people you have left only care about, like, collecting comics. Like, they don't even care about the stories. A lot of people just want to keep their runs together, or they think that, you know, if they buy a rare comic cover, they'll be able to sell it in 10 years for a lot of money and put their kids through college or something. You know, it's stupid. So my main thing is really that with this Outlaws article, and then, you know, the gamer article that's also talking about, like, fragile masculinity in gaming. And they talk about this like video games is made for gamers to open their minds to the plight of other people. It's just entertainment. It's just a consumer market. You can do these things organically. Like, women leads, female leads are popular with gaming. And not every player, though, not every gamer needs to like that. If they don't want to play the game, they just won't play the game. It's like the Hogwarts boycott. Like, it's such an easy thing to not boycott the game. If you're interested in it, you're just going to buy it. Like, Kotaku's not going to be able to come to your house and stop you from buying it. You know, nobody cares about a Kotaku article to the point where, oh no, Kotaku is saying that we're misogynist. What shall I do? I'm so devastated. You know, I had these snarky people in the comments of my last video the Fable 4 one, and they're saying things like, oh, it's cringe that you're complaining about an ugly woman in gaming. Women look like this in real life. And it's like, if you know women in your real life who look as bad as that chick from Fable 4, that's your fucking problem. And I don't care if they're average or ugly women in the real world. This is entertainment. This is escapist fantasy. People will complain about it and just not buy it. You're not going to shame them into buying it. You're not going to shame them into caring about, like these women in Dove ads wanting to see themselves. And it's such a weird, entitled thing. It's like, this is not even your hobby. Women who like this shit come into it and they're not talking about, oh, these women are too hot. These women are too sexy. These women are too attractive. I feel like I would be insulted if I was a woman and I see Kotaku, men complaining about ugly women in games. And again, this whole idea that you don't like women protagonists, we're going to teach you a lesson. So they're like writing a check that they expect developers and publishers to cash, like if those developers go out of business and there's layoffs at these big publishing companies or whatever, Kotaku read articles feeling bad and, having solidarity for these companies going out of business, but they'd be one of the main reasons why these companies go out of business. So yeah, this is just something that I'm going to keep talking about.